During the time of isolation, the Dwarf Guilds were cut off from other human planets, and the external supplies as they were forced to defend themselves and to develop their own technology. This included reinventing spacecraft, advanced weaponry, and other complex technologies. Also, much of the civilian equipment had to be converted into efficient war gear. Another issue was maintaining and keeping their life support systems and hydroponic tanks running that they needed for the air, heat, and food. Achieving these objectives was helped by the very nature of the Dwarf Guild population. The tough miners knew how to exploit the resources at their disposal. They were thus able to rapidly come up with alternative technologies to replace the ones that no longer were available from Earth. Being separated from the rest of the human-populated space, it was essential for the Dwarf Guilds to safeguard and preserve their technology. They needed to tackle the task of preserving the necessary engineering skills and know-how. The guilds were then created. These guilds developed into complex systems that collected all available information and knowledge and archived them for the future generations. It is the guilds that are responsible for the training of all specialists that are necessary for running a stronghold, such as engineers, miners, and other machine and robotic experts. It was also the guilds who headed the effort to develop alternate technologies and the guild's unique machines. So guild engineers fulfilled the role of the scientists and technicians in Dwarf Guild society. Well, welcome back, my friends. This is Legendary Tabletop, and we are continuing our series here looking at these awesome models from one-page rules, talking a little bit about the Dwarf Guilds, and we're going to continue our series here painting an army. Last video we painted some of our fun little infantry guys. We also painted one of the free models given away by Ravaged Star and Mini Wargaming. And today we are going to paint these boys. We printed them up here off of my Frozen Sonic Mini, and I printed some of the pieces separate, which is not shown in the video, but you can see some of the green stuff that I used to stick these boys together. And these are some really cool models, kind of like some Masters of the Universe vibe here. Very impractical vehicles, but they follow the rule of cool, which is probably one of the number one mantras of people that are participating in painting and displaying models and playing tabletop war games. So we're going to prime these little short kings with white. We're not going to slap chop this time. We're going to go with a pure white prime. And I think that, slap chop is great and I like to do it sometimes, but other times we just want to try different things. So expand our knowledge, expand our skill set. And primarily we are using these speed paints to start with: Gravelord Gray, Fire Giant Orange, Grim Black, and Camel Cloak. And when I do large vehicles like this, I like to just put a little bit of water or medium, or sometimes if I'm feeling fancy, a little airbrush thinner in order to stretch these speed paints out a little bit. They are expensive, much more affordable, thank you, Army Painter, compared to contrast paints. But with such a large surface here, we are also going to eventually do a little dry brush over this, so we don't need to get crazy. And also, with a vehicle, we're going to get a little bit sloppy, so we're going to also both mentally and physically prepare ourselves to go back and clean up some of the areas where the flowy nature of the speed point has filtered over and spilled across the lines of our adult 3D coloring books that we get so excited about. And I'm loving this orange concept here, and we're going to show later on these vehicles next to some of the infantry that we painted in the previous video. And these are just really cool. I'm digging them. This guy right now that I'm painting is the APC, Armored Personnel Carrier, and the other one is some sort of like heavy armor attack vehicle. And these are models from One Page Rules, and I will always put the link below so you can check these guys out. Even if you don't have a 3D printer, One Page Rules does print and sell these for a premium, but it's still cheaper than some of the main competitors out there, such as GW. And I have to say, I've been a subscriber and a supporter of One Page Rules for a few years now, and their models just get better and better, and they listen to the community, and they give the community what it wants. They don't shame and attack their fan base, and believe it or not, that helps the company out, helps them grow. And so they will always have my support. And if you're looking for proxies, they have a lot of cool armies, some quite unique. They have like a futuristic Lizardmen faction, which is really cool. It's the Saurian star hosts, so like the classic lizardmen with that sort of Aztec vibe, but futuristic. Really cool. And here we're, much like the infantry models that we had painted in the previous video, we're going to use the Grim Black for a lot of the metallic pieces, such as these little wheelie thingamabobs. And after we let that dry, we're going to do a little metallic dry brush over that, which will create a really easy, dynamic, like dark metallic that works really well with these camo cloak green portions and these orange armored plates. And we're going to do the same thing on the APC and with the Grim Black, and also too with the speed paints. Generally, if I'm going to glaze some opaque normal acrylics, or do an oil wash later on, or even like cover up some of these mistakes on the white parts that I've made, you can see here some of my sloppy painting here, I usually will leave like 6-7 hours or even 24 hours time to dry, because there is some sort of like chemicals, some sort of something in the speed paints that takes a little while to like fully set. They will quickly dry initially, but I find that for things like this where I'm going back over with thin glazes of white to cover up some of the mistakes I made, I don't know what it is, but they work better after I've let the speed paints set. Now I don't know what exactly this is. If you do, comment below. I'm curious, but I just find that it works better if I let it set. And but yeah, this is a kind of a inevitable part of using speed paint, contrast paint. No matter how much, at least for me personally, no matter how much I use them, I still get a little sloppy sometimes, and they tend to flow into some spaces that I don't want them to. And I just don't get mad about it, let it dry, come back with the white, and fix that stuff later on. So Here we've reached, most of the model covered in the speed paints. We haven't quite gotten to the pilots, gunners yet, but I'm liking the way this looks, and we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did with the infantry and try to make these little pilot guys pop out. We're using this speed paint sand golem for the flesh of our Space Dwarfs, and just a little different complexion than maybe like a tan skin. Maybe in the lore these guys are on some sort of non-hospitable, hostile planet. They're some sort of Tatooine like place where the sun is hot and the wind is rough, and so these guys have a little bit of a tan, and I like it, and it goes well with the rest of the concept, I think. And then we do a little bit of like this light grayish blue for the beards, and then we're going with a more classic blue. I believe this is I forget the name of the speed paint, cloud blue, and a more kind of ultramarine type blue for some of their uniforms in order to differentiate maybe the jobs of the different guilds of the Space Dwarf. So like in the infantry, we had painted the heavy infantry primarily orange and black, and there was also like some medic guys in there that we left with a little white stripe and more of the camo cloak green. And then I'm imagining the pilots and the engineers have more of a bluish uniform, like Star Trek, where they have the the yellow guys are security and the red guys are officers, and the blue guys and gals are the doctors and the scientists. And yeah, so we can imagine that the Dwarf Guilds have some sort of color-coded structure in their society, which is fun to think about as we paint these boys over the period of a few weekends, as we relax and let go of the stresses of the week and participate in this wonderful escapism that we do. And here are my vehicles next to some of the finished infantry, and you can see how they match together, and it looks like they're all on the same team. And we've done some of that turquoise in the weapons and the lights and the glow, which looks great in contrast against the orange. And I like to often with my models to have a nice contrast between cool and dark. Now we're moving on to some of the dry brushing here with a metallic Vallejo, and we're gonna hit those grim black portions, making sure that our brush is not too wet, so that we get a nice dry brush effect here, and it matches the infantry and makes a sweet little metallic look. And then we're going to take some oranges and some yellows, and we're going to dry brush some of the raised portions here. If you wanted to get crazy, you could get a real fine brush and kind of go hard on those edge highlights. And I decided that was not the best. I wanted to get these guys on the table, wanted to finish them, and I think the dry brush is good enough, and it's up to you. We all get to a point with the models where we have to say they're done, because if we don't, we will be painting them for eternity. And I'm very happy with how these turned out. I like to keep my vehicles very simple compared to the infantry models, and because they're not the focus, they're kind of side characters, and they're larger, so it's a little bit easier for us to pick out the details. So that's our little vehicle Dwarf Guild painting tutorial with some speed paints. And as you know, we're going to roll that beautiful bean footage. Thanks for hanging out.